Well, hello, you crazy kids out there. It's Untethered Live Politi-tics. I'm your host, Jake Johnson. And tonight we're going down the dark road. We're going down the back path. We're going down the beaten way. We're going to ruffle some feathers and spread some feathers, pluck some feathers. With pretty much anything feather related. How are you doing out there? Who's with me? Debbie's first. She says, hamburger helper hand. Hamburger helper hand back at you. Amanda would be here tonight, but she's ill. I make her sick, apparently. She says, you make me sick. So, go figure. I make me sick too, apparently. Debbie says, bite me, Kevin. Right out the gate, huh? Going for it. Bite me, Kevin. Not hello, hi, bye, kiss my ass. Bite me. I like it. Kevin says, anytime, any place. Right? I'm with you. Hey, Kevin and Debbie, how are you? Nice to see you. Kevin says, hello, Jake and Amanda. Nice to see you, buddy. Kevin says the only reason Debbie gets the gold star is she distracts me. Hey, Kev, look at these. That would distract anybody. There's two things a man can't turn away from or resist, and that's money and titties. I'm with you, 100%. I like a little backside, too. Let's see. Debbie says, and you looked. Next time, don't look. No. How about no? I vote no on the don't look department. That's not what we do. We look. If we can touch, we will. Sometimes taste. You know? It depends. Kevin says that's just not possible for a man. See? He agrees. Women look too. They're just sneaky about it. They look through reflections. Yeah. And then they talk. Oh my God, did you see the size of her butt? Yeah. They do that. Very judgmental of one another. I dress like this for me. No, you don't. You dress like that for every other woman that looks at you. And you want them to be jealous and hate you for it. Yep. And Debbie says, it's the shadows we fantasize about. They're bigger. They can be. Sometimes they're stretchy. You can cast a long shadow on something and it'll get real stretchy. I could see why you'd fantasize about that. I tried that once. For me, it just made me look like Peter Pan with a dangle. If you've ever seen Peter Pan, you know what I'm talking about. Amanda says, Debbie, here's your gold star. You get the gold star for being first in chat. And Amanda says, Debbie and Kevin, hamburger helper hand. And look at these boobies. And they look like that, too. And the ellipsis also is in there. And Amanda says, hi, Untethered Live family. Good to see you all. Hi, Jake. How are you tonight? Tired. I walked to work today, so my feetsies is tired. But other than that, I'm great. I'm feeling better. I seem to be getting over the sickness. It's down to just the preliminary coughing. I'm no longer like heaving for air and all of that stuff. So it's good. I think I've made it through the worst part of the lung infection, whatever it was. And I think I've survived it. And I think you'll be there too in a day or two. It seems to be about a week that it took to get through that. Maybe a week and a half. Kevin says, Amanda, how are you feeling tonight? She's doing better too. Except she's in the nausea part of the sickness. So that's not fun. But that means that things are coming out. So that is a good thing. It just doesn't feel good. Debbie says probably like yesterday with her hands. She feels with her hands. Sometimes she feels with the back of her throat. But you know, to each his own. Kevin says, LOL. And Amanda says, I'm alive. Thanks, Kev. Linda Davis is here. She says, hi, Jake, Amanda, Kevin, and Debbie. Hi, Linda. How are you, sweet lady? How's the family? I get to go meet my nephew, my long-lost nephew, tomorrow. I'm going to go have dinner with my sister and her son, who she didn't know until a couple of days ago, because when she was 14, she had a child, and that child ended up adopted. And I don't think she ever even got to see him, maybe once. And when he got older, he reached out and found his family, and now they're connecting. So that's fantastic, and I can't wait to finally meet him. He seems like an okay guy. Guess what? He grew up in the same town we lived in. Every time we moved, they moved to the same area we moved to. And he's a musician and a pastor. Isn't that weird? Kind of weird. We probably crossed paths several times and didn't even know it. Kevin says, hello, Linda. And Amanda says, Linda, hamburger her brand. Debbie says, I'm ready to be fluffed, plucked, and spread. That actually sounds good. A little butter in there. Some barley and rosemary. Oh, yeah. A little bit of Old Bay. Whatever. Amanda says, damn, Debbie. Kevin, get on your job. Kevin, get on your job. But it's him that gets the job. It's her that gives it. That's how that works. But, there's the other way, too. And we look for the bulge, says Amanda. If there's one to be seen. Amber's here. She says, oh, my God, Becky, look at her butt. That's what I was thinking about, Amber. You got me. Kevin says, hello, Amber. Amber says, good evening, friends. American flags and hearts. Amanda says, Amber says, big dog, diamonds and black hearts. Miss Hammer, princess waves. Stay over there, Miss Lady Ma'am. Miss Lady Ma'am. I think you overdid it. And Wavy Gravy says, a Mexican magician once said he'd disappear on the count of three. Uno, dos, poof. He disappeared without a trace. Yeah, that's what happens when you have Mexican magicians. Hello, Wavy Gravy. Nice to meet you. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Other than bad puns, what are you up to? Linda Davis says, all the kids are out of the house. It's so quiet. My granddaughter rode her bike to my house alone for the first time today, and we had the pool all to ourselves. That sounds like a great day. A great day for a grandma and a granddaughter to bond and do a little talking and, catch up with things that you don't get to talk about around all the boys. That sounds like a great day. And how old is she? Riding her bike for the first time to your house. And how far did she have to ride? That's actually kind of good. I wish that there were more people turning their kids out into the world and letting them experience the world a little bit like they did when I was a kid. It was nothing for me to be walking all over town when I was 12 or 13 years old. And you can't even think of that today. You'll go to jail just to think about it. It's really weird. We're supposed to be enlightened, and we're supposed to be better than our predecessors, and yet they have no experience. There's nothing for them to draw on. Go figure. Strawberry syrup, says Amanda, right? The drops that go right in the back of the throat. Amber says KFC special spices. Those spices are old, dead politicians in white suits. That's a good cup of coffee. Thank you for whoever provides the coffee for the show. You know who you are. I appreciate it. It means a lot. And it's delicious. Don't you want to have a cup with me? Look at it. Look at it. Just makes you want to lick it up, don't it? Go to the kitchen, pour yourself up a nice hot cup of coffee, and let's get to talking about some politics of some sort. If you don't have a cup, you can get one in the description below. I recommend the first one. It has my face on it. It is fantastic. Like, subscribe, share, support, join, and super chats are available in the chat box if you want to show a little bit of love. If you want to, you can do that at paypal.me/jakejohnsonband or CashApp $jakejohnsonband. I greatly appreciate that very much. It means a lot. I could use it. You know, it goes to the nose spray fund. And also, if you'd like to hang out with us outside of the YouTuberverse, go over to facebook.com/UntetheredLive chillin'. The link is in the chat. It'll tell you all about what we get up to when we're not here, and we're welcome to see you there. Check it out. But not right now, because we're doing a thing here right now. Go over there afterwards. The link is in the chat somewhere. You will find it. KFC Special Spices. Linda Davis says, hi, Amber. Amber says, Linda hearts. Amanda says, if there isn't a bulge, there's no point in looking anymore. LOL. Well, that's true. Yeah, size does matter. Despite what people try to tell people that have low self-esteems. Amanda says, KFC is nasty. Not if you go to the place where KFC came from and eat their KFC, the one that is owned by the KFC family, the people that own that family or run that family, those people, their chicken is delicious. It's the chain stores that have bought KFC that are garbage. Old KFC was delicious. And Amanda says, oh yeah, a pool or a hot tub would be great right now. Yeah, I think it would be. Hey, thank you for subscribing. Send? Are you send? Are you, wavy whatever? Who are you, Send? Anyway, welcome to the show. Thank you for the subscription. I appreciate that. It's going to look good on your resume, and it's going to look good on mine. So we did a good thing here today. Linda Davis says she's 8.5, and it's only about 4.5 blocks. And we even went to the ice cream shop after our pool time. Now that is a great ending to a pool party. Ice cream. Wonderful. Can't believe I didn't think of that myself. I have an ice cream sandwich with my name on it. And I'm going to have it in your honor. And Amanda says it's special coffee. It's made with sick love. Are you trying to give it back to me? Did you spit in my coffee? Is that what you're saying? 8.5, 4.5 blocks. That sounds about right. And I bet it was just far enough that it felt like an adventure to her. And just close enough that you could see her all the way home. Yeah. Debbie says, what Trump has done to clean up and repair D.C. is really great. I wouldn't think the Democrats would bitch about it, but they are. Oh, yeah. I saw a couple of them, though, actually saying that they really liked the reflection pool and they hated that they liked it, but it really does look good. And yes, that's what Trump does. He repairs a town for people that didn't vote for him. He's a good man. Amanda says, I don't have my computer going, so no Facebook link tonight. I'm a slacker. Well, type it in your phone. Get it in there. Generic name. I like your name. What is the stance on abortion here? We have no stance on abortion. We don't do it. Stay away from it. I don't know what you're asking. I don't currently have the capabilities of an abortion. Why are you asking me? We like to follow the 10 Commandments around here, and one of them is thou shalt not kill, so that would cover your question, I would bet. Amanda says Trump could have a free cure for cancer, and the Dems would bitch. Yeah, they'd be like, well, why didn't he cure heart disease too? That's who they are. That's what they are, and everybody sees it. They're not getting away with it anymore. They have overreached their bounds. They have overstepped the line. They have reached too far into the gimme pool. And the world see them for what they are. Like in California right now, they're cheating, trying to win the election because Spencer Pratt is killing them on real grounds. He's actually winning. And they can't stand it. So they're doing the same thing they did in 2020. Stop counting. All of a sudden, a truckload of mail-in ballots show up that not one of them was for Spencer, but put the third girl over the line so that he couldn't win. Yeah, it seems to be happening. Debbie says, generic, I can only speak for myself, but abortion is murder. Amanda says abortion is murder. And no, I kissed it, LOL. You're talking about my coffee. Okay. Now, if it was something else, I would know about it. Thomas Higgins, welcome. Please hit that subscribe button. Trump is awesome, he says. I agree. 100%. Amber says, pro-life for me, save our children. I agree. There's a link to the Facebook page. It's a little different than it usually is. It's Untethered Live chilling, but that is it, I promise. Go check it out. Kevin Bernard says, the vote just keeps coming in until you win, is the Democrat way. Right. Yeah, they stop counting so that they can keep pouring in, and that's when the cheating happens, when they stop the count. They rush in all these mail-in ballots that comes from who knows where, and I think they're just manufacturing them, and then next thing you know, they're over the line. Well, here's the thing. What they're actually doing, and if you'll pay attention, you can see it happening, they're increasing the number of voters so that they can keep finding new votes. That's how they do it. That's the trick. Nobody looks at that number because they're focused on the end result, but that number keeps growing. Where did all these new voters come from? My guess would be Mexico. Amanda says, too many people want to adopt. No need for abortion. I agree with that. Yeah, there's always somebody that would love to have a family. There's no need to kill an innocent life. I agree with that. Generic name says, okay, so the stance on abortion is it's murder. Why? When you take a life, that's murder. That's why. It's just a few cells as far as I'm concerned. Well, you're an idiot. Because it's not just a few cells. It is a life form with a unique DNA code. And it starts living at conception. This is scientifically proven. The word fetus means offspring of what? A person. But it has its own DNA, so it's its own person. So if you think a few cells is not a human being, you're incorrect. I would strongly suggest you go out into the world and, meet a few women. Have a little carnal pleasures and see what happens. Your liquids transfer into her body, and the two of you make a baby. And that baby will grow up to be some guy named Doug who's on welfare, probably. But, if you raise them right, maybe the President of the United States. Anybody that thinks that, number one, isn't thinking it through to the end result. And number two is just simply not thinking. You're just simply not using your brain. That's all there is to it. If you want to live a life like a moron, be my guest. And you'll find some people out there that will echo chamber everything you believe and make you feel at home being a moron. I personally can't live like that. I like being smart. I like knowing things that are correct. Debbie says, whatever you do to the least of these, you do unto me. That's a quote from Jesus Christ. You need Jesus, is what she's saying. Kevin says, generic, you're also just a few cells. Correct. How many cells do you think make you up? Would you say you're not a human being? Amber says, for myself, a heartbeat is life. Every life matters. Once again, save our children. I agree with that also. And generic name says, Kev, yes. But I'm a collection of cells that has a consciousness. Alive doesn't mean thinking. No, it doesn't. So if you have consciousness, that doesn't make you alive. What does? What makes you alive? Because there are plenty of brain dead people who are still alive, who are worth saving. You don't get along with Jesus? Well, unfortunately, it's not your call. You will be right by yourself when Jesus does what he does. You don't have to get along with him. He didn't ask you to. He told you what you should do, and he gave you the free will to do it, or not. It's your ship. You can sail that sucker across the 7 seas, or you can turn and drive it right into the rocks. Either way, he will let you do it, and you'll suffer the consequences for it. I would strongly suggest you learn a lot more before you make decisions like that. Amanda says, generic, you need Jesus. See, I told you. Kevin says, generic, so when does a human start to have consciousness? Yeah, is there any scientific data that tells you when a person starts thinking? I don't think there is. Amber says, Fab, banana? Don't know. Hadn't seen Fab since he got onto me about calling my flock a flock. And then he vanished. It happens. And Amanda says, that's your problem right there. That's right. You choosing to not get along with Jesus, who did nothing but love you and gave his life up so that you could have one. I'd say you're the problem. That's what I would say. Debbie says, generic, that is exactly the lie that Satan wants you to believe. It is. And if you'll read the Bible, at least the first book, you'll hear that. Yea, hath God said. That is the lie. It started back then. Amanda says, no, Amber, a troll about to get booted. No, he's not going to get booted for having his own opinion. I'll have a conversation with the guy. He hasn't said anything troll-like yet. Let him have his word, and I will continue to correct it. Now, if he gets insulting or rude, then you can ban him. Don't ban him just for having a different opinion than mine. Generic says, Kev, at a certain point, the laws in most countries forbid abortion. At that point, I'd think it's conscious. Yep, that's not how consciousness works. Law has nothing to do with a person being alive. We invented laws. The universe gave us life via God. God created the universe, and the universe gave us life. So your inalienable rights come from the creator of all things, not the law. You got it exactly backwards in your head. The law could at any point decide that you could legalize abortion up to 9 months. That's 1 day before it comes out of the body. That's very much a baby, and you could still abort it. And that has happened in some cases. So I would tell you that the law often makes mistakes. You know, it was legal to kill Jews in Germany at one time. The vast majority of people agreed with Hitler. Did that make that right? The law gets things wrong a lot. Amanda says, ban hammer, ban hammer, ban hammer. Amber says, hang on, chat jump. Amber says, so we're turning political night into Bible study. Sweet. Yet how about those stars and stripes? Amen. I'm just going wherever the conversation goes, and that's where it went. I didn't ask for that. I offer a platform to talk about politics. Here it is. If you choose to talk about Bible, I will oblige you because that's what I do for a living, teach the Bible. But if you want to talk about Trump or Spencer Pratt or anybody else, I'm your guy too. Whatever makes you happy, that's what I want to indulge in. And Kevin says, generic, an unborn child can feel pain. Is that consciousness? religion should stay out of government. Sorry for grammar, by the way. Not my native language. That's quite all right. I speak typoese, and you're fine. But you see, religion and government are the same thing. What we're talking about on this channel is the truth, not a religion, right? I don't push religious or religiosity on people. If you want to have patterns and pageantry and traditions and all of that, you can do that. That's your business. I don't do that. I teach what the Bible says, and that's it. I don't put any kind of presupposition on it. It's not a religion. It's the truth. Government is the same thing as a religion. It's a set of ideals that people choose to live by. That's it. By the way, this country was founded by Christians to be a Christian nation. Government should absolutely involve Christianity. I don't know about any other religion, but Christianity for sure, because that's how it was founded. That was the idea, period. Amanda says, I'm letting him conversate till he crosses the line. Well, I'll leave that up to your judgment, but I'm just saying give the guy a fair chance to say his piece. Not everybody agrees with me, and that's all right. The whole point about this night is to argue about things that are uncomfortable and walk away as friends. But if we can do that, we've done a good thing, because that's something the world needs more of, is conversation, because bad ideas quickly show themselves to be bad ideas. And when people are talking about it, everybody that's listening can see what a bad idea that is, and it'll change their minds. I don't expect to change this person's mind at all. He's not going to change mine. But everybody listening can hear the arguments and see which one makes more sense. So it's important to have these arguments. Amanda says, where are you from, Generic? Amber says, Generic, this is the night we talk about America and how wonderful America is. Yep. Debbie says, generic morals most definitely belong in politics. I agree, 100%. If you have an immoral politic, if your policies are based on lack of morality, then you have a dictatorship, a third world country where people do whatever they want to do, and it usually is at the cost of everyone who can't stop them. I don't want to live like that. Kevin says, Generic, do you believe in God? Generic says, Kev, till the child... Hang on. Chat jumped. Where'd it go? Till the child is developed enough, the pain has nowhere to register. Till it's developed enough to have thoughts. It's just meat for me. You do realize the first thing that develops is the spinal column, right? The first thing. That's at, 3 weeks? 4 weeks? You know what's attached to the spinal column? The brain. I'd say it develops quite quickly to feel pain and have some form of thought or self-awareness. The one burnished says facts. Who's facts? Welcome, the one. I want to call you Theon, but it's the one. Amber says, you said this is a second language to you. What is your main language? Kevin says, Generic, pain is pain. And Generic says, Kev, no, I'm not religious. He didn't ask you if you were religious. He asked if you believed in God. I think you don't understand the difference between those two things. There is a difference. We can argue all day long about who God, what God, why God, where God, but is God? That's a foregone conclusion. Look at a tree. Explain to me where an egg evolved from, or a seed, or anything else for that matter. You can't, because it didn't. Kevin says, Generic, can you define alive? And Generic says, Amber, I'm German. Ah, so that Hitler comment I made earlier must have hit home. Surely you know that governments can be wrong. Amanda says, you feel pain at conception. I don't know. It's been a long time since I've been at conception. I couldn't tell you if I felt pain or not. But I can tell you I'm here. That's got to mean something. The one says, can I join you live for a conversation? Yeah, start talking. That's what we're here for. Amber says, sweet, you're German. And Debbie says, Generic needs affirmation for their Luciferian ways, but they're looking in the wrong place. Yes, this would be the wrong place for affirmations on Luciferian ways. I can tell you all the things he did wrong. Amber says, what's it like? What's what like? Kev says, Generic, I would argue the fact. If an unborn child can feel pain, it's aware of stimulus from outside of itself. True. The one says, not true. How do you know it's not true? And what are you saying isn't true? Add context, guys. You new people, I want you here, and I want you to contribute to the conversation, but you got to tell me what you're saying. I don't know what not true means. What's not true? There's 10 conversations going on. And Amber says, you have joined us. Talk. That's correct. Say your piece. I will make sure that you're heard. Generic says, Kev, well, technically a lot of things are alive. A plant. Incorrect. A plant is not alive. Cheese and even dead meat in a way. Incorrect. Alive doesn't mean anything. It does. It really does. Alive means you are connected to a consciousness which is outside of your body. That's the spirit, or whatever you want to call it. That resides in heaven. Plants are not alive. They do not die. They wither. All plants are a form of a reincarnation or a clone of itself from another plant. Because the seed contains within itself the thing that makes the seed and the tree and more seeds. You see how that works? It's a clone. Plants do not live. They do not do anything that consists of being alive except for existing. Bacteria is not alive. Viruses are not alive. You are incorrect scientifically on that fact. And the reason that I'm getting down on you about it is because, hear me out, if you don't actually know what the hell you're talking about, that could lead you down a dark primrose path towards thinking things that are not true. And then you reaffirm it with more bullshit that you don't know what you're talking about, and you have a collection of things that you believe that are not true. That means everything that you are is based on lies. And you need to correct that. You can call me wrong and roll your eyes until it hurts your forehead and walk out saying, what a moron, this guy don't know anything. Prove me wrong. Go look. Go study. I have. Amanda says plants are not alive. Plants wither. They do not die. Correct. Kevin says generic. So life means nothing to you? Unfortunately, this is a nihilistic generation, and most of them know life doesn't mean anything. It's because they don't know the meaning of life, that they don't have any value for it. Debbie says, generic, you will never make the case for murder. That is impossible. Generic name says, Kev, conscious life is what I care about. Well, then you care about children that are in the womb because they are conscious and alive. If you don't believe that, go talk to some guys who have given cesarean section removal of children, or any kind of having to operate on the mother in the womb while still pregnant. And talk to the guys who the baby have reached up and grabbed their finger for comfort while they were doing it. Talk to the guys who have seen the child react in a human way while it's still in the womb. They are very much alive. They're just not fully formed yet. Fully formed isn't a case for living. There are plenty of people that have gone the other direction and become invalid or brain dead or crippled in some way, but are still very much alive. I know one guy that had his entire brain damaged. He had a pole shoved right through his jaw, right through there, and went out his head, and it ruined his entire brain, and the only thing he had was a little bit of the brain stem and a little bit of tiny meat on the end of that. That guy lived for about 25, 30 years after that and lived a normal life. He was a little weird, but he functioned with no brain. That's in the books. Go look it up. Amber says, God, guns, and freedom, America. Prayers, hearts, and prayers in America. Dodie Estes, welcome back, says, hi, everyone. God, family, country. Hello, Dodie. Welcome back. Kevin says, generic, you seem to have a little bit of trouble understanding consciousness. Very much. Amanda says, Dodie, long time no see, Amber girlfriend. Amber says, Dodie, hearts. Debbie says, generic is either a male or a woman. Well, I would think so, yeah. One of those. That has never had a child. At first, it feels like butterflies. You feel the flutter in the first trimester, and the baby is a living human being. Correct. Yes, and despite how many Planned Parenthoods tell you otherwise, you can feel that life inside of you. You can sense the presence of another human being within you. Women know this. All women who's ever been pregnant know this. You feel that flutter like 3 or 4 days after you conceive. That's alive. It's alive at that point. When the sperm meets the egg and a new being is formed, that form is alive. Yes, it is. Debbie says generic is... Oh, I read that one. Kevin says generic, you may feel like you're being attacked, but that is far from the truth. Yeah, I'm not attacking you. I'm giving you a little bit of tough love and telling you how life really is. But I'm including you in this because I believe that you have the capacity to learn. You're not being attacked. Correction and attacking are two different things. Kevin says, pain can only be registered by the brain. Brain dead people don't feel pain. There you go. Oh, wouldn't you like to know? Amanda says, if you stop reproducing, the world wouldn't exist anymore. This is true. Yeah, where do you think all of these people came from? All these people that are in the world? Every one of them passed through the womb. Every single one of them, without exception, was born to a woman. Every one of them. It's kind of in the description. That's how you get here. If you don't want that to continue, then support ending the life of things that grow into people. I don't want to do that. Generic says, Kev, a fetus develops a functioning at 7 weeks. Yeah, that's incorrect. Till that point, I don't think it's conscious. Well, you're wrong about that. I understand that you believe that, but you're incorrect. Do some more research and go look at actual development of a child. Go talk to some mothers who have become pregnant and felt the child, who knew they were pregnant before they even took the test. It's the reason they went and got the test in the first place, because they sensed it. It's alive. Believe that. Tay, this is not the place for that kind of nonsense. You will not be tolerated. To go elsewhere if that's all you want to do. I got you, generic functioning brain. What is Germany like? Asks Amber. Very sparse and poorly decorated. Amanda says, Tay, stop spamming the chat. It's not going to get you anywhere. Generic says, Amber, can only speak on rural Germany, but the landscape is nice and the people are okay. I've never been. Generic says, Amber, food is mid, if I'm being honest. Well, everybody don't have French fries. That's true. Let's not talk about food. I'm starving. Now I want French fries. What part of Germany? Asks Amber. So different than here in America. I imagine some places are just like America. I mean, they got McDonald's and everything. Everywhere else, I don't know why they don't have it in Germany. But their rules are a little different because they have a different type of government than we have. They have a different set of guidelines to live by. And they've got the looming overhang of what happened in the 30s and 40s. And they don't want that to happen again by any stretch of the imagination, nor do they want that to be associated with them. So they go out of their way to go around that sort of thing. But other than that, a country's a country's a country. People are all the same. Amber says, what's mid-food? Blah, food. It's It's mid, middle of the road. Not exciting. Generic says, Amber, I don't know what that is. Kirchheim, near Stuttgart, a small part of town. A small part of a small town. Kevin says, generic, with all honesty. Hold on, my chat jumped. With all honesty, you seem to be avoiding the fact that an unborn child can feel pain inside the mother's womb. This is a fact. That unborn child has a brain function, or it would not feel pain. And Generic says, Kev, at some point, yes. But at that point, abortion would be illegal anyways. Incorrect. There are places in America that are trying to push for 9-month abortion, up to the 9th month. Pretty much any time before birth, they want it to be done. They actually pushed for that. I don't know that it gained any traction, but they were people talking about doing that just a couple of years ago. So, no, they don't love people. They want to kill people. That's the whole point. It's Moloch worship. It's sacrifice of the child for the sake of the parent, or the well-being of the parent. It's not a good thing, no matter how you look at it. Amber says, do you wish to visit the States one day? Kevin says, generic, exactly what is that point? That is a contested little bit of information there. Nobody seems to know. That's the thing we've been arguing about for 40 years. Nobody's comfortable giving it an exact point. And because there's no exact point, they can continue the argument. The exact point is conception. They just don't want to admit that. Generic says, Amber, maybe for the landscape some point. Don't like cities, but I don't know if I'm cool with the phone account checks at the airport that I've heard about. I haven't heard anything about phone account checks. That might be propaganda, because I don't think they do that here. Nobody's ever checked my phone account, if that's worth anything. Generic says, Kev, my point is abortion is fine as long as it's done before the fetus is conscious. Well, the word fetus is a word that people use so that they don't use the word child. But the word fetus, do you know what it means? Do you know what the word fetus means? It's a Greek word, and it means offspring. Of what? Offspring of what? It's a human being that is offspring from another human being. So the word fetus, you're proving my point by using it. And abortion is not fine, no matter how you do it. It should be only in extreme cases at the last resort and no other option available should there be an abortion. It is not fine. It is not a party trick that people should get accustomed to. It should always gross you out. It should always feel wrong because it is wrong. It is necessary in some cases, very few cases. Rare, legal but rare is the way it should be. Aaron says, hello, what's up, Aaron? Nice to see you, my friend. How you enjoying them boots? He hit me with a picture of some snakeskin boots today and made me jealous. Amanda says, Aaron, hamburger helper hand. Amber says, green team, welcome. Smiley faces. Kevin says, generic, at what point do you think consciousness begins? Aaron says, what topic are we on? Abortion, of all things. A topic I have very little right or knowledge to discuss, but apparently that's what we're discussing. Kevin says, hello, Aaron. Aaron says, I just got back. From where? Where did you just got back from? And Generic says, Kev, about 7 weeks, I think. That's the first trimester. That's at the beginning of the pregnancy. Amanda says, the baby has consciousness at conception. I agree with that. It may not be fully formed, but it is most definitely there. Aaron says, are we talking babies? Oh, we are. Patty Donahue says, hello, children. Hi, Patty. Welcome to the show. Come on in. Kevin says, generic, I believe that life begins when the first cell splits into two cells. Aaron says, the legend. And Debbie says, generic, have you seen the video titled Silent Scream? It's an abortion of an 8-week-old, and you can see the baby screaming. So yes, it felt pain at 8 weeks. Silent Scream. I don't recommend you watch that video, but if you need proof, there it is. Amber says, oh my gosh, all 3 times I was pregnant. No doubt I knew someone was inside of me. Amen. Most women will admit to that. However, this Democrat way of thinking and this Planned Parenthood brainwashing that has gone on in this country has people refusing to talk about things like that because they don't want to dispel the belief that abortion is fine. At any time, just go have an abortion like brushing your teeth. It's not fine. It's gross, and I can't believe people want to do that. But there are people that want to do that. It's a very nihilistic world we live in. And Generic says, Kev, how? 2 cells cannot make a brain capable of being conscious. They do every day. How do you think you got here? You think you started out as a human being? Judy Vincent's here. Hey, everyone. Hi, Judy. Long time no see. How you doing? Amber says, my babies and I were talking with each other way before their first breath. Easy, 5 weeks, 8 weeks, tops, right? Aaron says, hey, Judy. Amber says, Judy. Smiley faces and hearts. Welcome. Amanda says, Judy, hamburger helper hand. Kevin says, generic. Hang on. I hate it when my chat jumps. I get all lost. Thank you. Kevin says, generic, I haven't defined life. I haven't defined life as the beginning of consciousness. That was you. Correct. Yeah, life begins at conception. Consciousness begins about 5 weeks later. Maybe 7 weeks. But believe me, the brain is there and its functioning is happening, just not in its complete form. Amber says, by 5 months pregnant, I swear my son and I were already loving to hate each other. And Generic says, Kev, yes, a fish is alive but not conscious. I must have missed one. Oh, I see. My chat jumped while I was reading it. Kevin says, generic, is a fish alive? Yes, a fish is alive, but not conscious. How do you know? You talked to any fish lately? How do you know a fish isn't conscious? How does it know where to swim, or what to eat, or what to avoid? I think you've been sold a can of goods, no pun intended. Fish are absolutely conscious. Aaron says, I have too many cousins. I know where Stuttgart is. Are you familiar with Gleason? German cousins. Oh, I hear you. Amanda says, generic, what is consciousness? That's a good question. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that question. Amber says, what's new with you, Green Team? And Kevin says, generic, in my country, we have a constitution that guarantees life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Nothing in there about consciousness. Patty says, WRH. WRH, is that what it is? Wet rhino horny? I don't know what WRH stands for. And Generic says, Aaron, sorry, never heard of Gleason, but I'm not good with city names, so it could be near me. Amanda says, Patty, hamburger, help her hand. And Amber says, Patty, hearts and smiley faces. Patty says, hi, ladies and outlaws. Patty, nice to see you. Kevin says, hello, Patty. Amanda says, where did you go, Aaron? Generic says, I mean no disrespect, by the way. Sorry if I come as blunt. It's fine. It's quite all right. I blame it on the language barrier. I like this conversation. It's quite all right, and we will figure out a way to discuss, language barrier or not. You are welcome here, and we enjoy having you. And it's nice to have somebody that can argue a point and not get stupid. I like that. So good on you for that. It's okay that you don't agree with me. It's okay that we think different things. It's not okay when you can't talk to someone about those disagreements like an adult. So that's what we're trying to do here, is have those kind of conversations that are uncomfortable but need to be had so that we can come away as bigger, stronger, better people in the end. I think it's important. Amanda says, generic, do you actually know what they do to the baby during an abortion process? Yeah, it's gruesome. There's 3 or 4 different methods, and they're all bad. And Kevin says, generic, so if fish is alive, you are killing the fish to eat it, ? Or is it not killing it because it's not conscious? No, you're absolutely killing it to eat it. But that's what God designed the food chain for. There's certain things that eat certain other things. And generally we don't stray from that too much, but everything has a process and everything has a circle of life. And also things die, and it's gruesome. It's a bitter world out there. But you have to eat to survive. That's part of the thing. So you got to eat something. What do you eat? Fish, chicken, beasts that are not beasts of burden, Beasts of burden, we don't eat those because we use those to plow fields and make things. It's almost like God knew what he was doing. Whether or not they have any capacity to know or fear their future or know what's happening when they're being caught to be eaten, that's a different story. I don't know how in-depth their consciousness goes. I've never talked to a fish. But you can tell that they are conscious by their actions. Generic says, Amanda, I don't mean to sound rude, but as long as they don't hurt the mother and it's done before 7 weeks, I don't really care what happens to it. Well, it is the problem. You're looking at a human being as an it, and you don't need to do that. It's a person. You need to look at it like a human life because that's what it is. Be honest with yourself. And it's okay to have that opinion, but it doesn't change what it is. It's murder. There's no other way to look at it. You're taking a completely healthy life that would grow up to be a full-grown human being with all of its potential, and you're snuffing it out before it even has a chance. That's not the child's fault, whatever the result of that child was, whether it be a rape or incest or just a night out on the town that you didn't expect. These things happen. That's what makes babies. Be more careful with your goods is what I say. If you want to champion a cause, I would urge you to champion chastity, to champion don't have sex out of wedlock. Be intentional with who your partners are. Think it through before you do the thing. Don't lead with your penis, lead with your brain. Those are good goals to champion. Killing the child because you don't want to have a baby, that's not a good reason. Aaron says, I'm happy that both my kids could not imagine a world without them. Amen. Me too. Amanda says, wow, that's disgusting and disturbing, Generic. You seriously need help. I think it's a product of just how they were raised, what they were taught. They were taught not to look at a child like a child. It's easy to dismiss a life when you don't look at it as human. When you dehumanize a thing, it makes it easy to kill it. Like fish. Like hunting a deer. It's not alive. Why do I care if it lives or dies? It doesn't have children or aspirations or a job. Sounds familiar. If you get serious about what you're doing and who you are and what you're surrounded by, you can no longer placate these ideas. You have to face them. You have to come to some agreement with yourself as to what's going on here. Kevin says, Generic, I'm sorry, but you are contradicting yourself. Well, most people that base their worldview on lies do contradict themselves because they don't realize that their ideas are conflicting. Patty says, a lot of parents talk to baby, and baby will recognize the father's voice because it's alive. That's right. Aaron says, Patty, you are so right. Then Amanda says something. Hang on. Amanda says, you are okay with chopping up baby into pieces and sucking it out? Wow, you have issues. I don't think he knows that. You can't judge people but what they don't know. A lot of people believe things in this world because they've been taught it, that it's okay to think that way and that it's popular to think that way. We are on the downside here. We are not the popular opinion. We are the truth, and the truth is always hard to come out. And the truth is always a challenge to get accepted because the mainstream wants to avoid the truth. They always have, they always will. But it's up to us to tell the truth and make it stick. And that's how we show people that this is murder, because you got to watch somebody doing it, and then you understand it's murder. And then understand all the things they put in place to keep you from watching it or knowing about it. Then you'll understand that they're covering that murder up, that it's premeditated murder. That is a sin. Dodie says, abortion is murder, in my opinion. It is. Aaron's like, yep, that part. And Judy says, doing well, Jake. How about you? I've been a little sick lately, but I'm doing better. Thank you for asking. A little out of breath still, but that's what to be expected when you have pneumonia. And Generic says, Kev, no, killing a fish is killing, but we as humans don't give their lives the same moral weight as ours because they cannot think on the same level as us and aren't conscious in the same way as we are. My question is how do you know that? What would give you the idea that a fish can't think? It has a brain, does it not? It looks very similar to yours, does it not? A little smaller, but still a brain in its entirety. It's not half a brain, it's a whole brain. So what makes you think a fish can't think the same way you do? How do you know fish aren't dreading the next day at the sea, like you are going to your job, worried about feeding its family, worried about taxes or whatever? How do you know? Have you ever talked to a fish or anybody that has? Have you ever asked a fish what it wanted or how it felt about being on your sandwich later tonight? I don't think you have. I don't think you've thought these things through. I think you're making gut reaction opinions on things you haven't thought through, which is the case for most of the world. Most of the people in the world do that very thing. They take the consensus and run with it. They don't ever actually do the thinking. This channel is about doing the thinking. So when you say things like that, I challenge you to go through the motions and think about it. Answer the question yourself. How do you know this thing that you're so certain about? Where does that information come from? What makes you believe it so wholly? And why have you never challenged it before? I'm assuming you wouldn't kill your nephew or your son. So why not? Amanda says, agreed, Dodie. Kevin says, generic, there was a time that I also thought like you. As did I. And then I learned reality. It hit me in the face really hard. Amanda says, I'm done with that dumb shit. Well, that's not how you have a conversation. You got to let the conversation play out. When you hear something that's wrong, it's your job to correct it, not to push it away. Aaron says, killing fish is regulated. That's why they have fish and game regulations, the same way as abortion should be regulated. You can't just go around and kill all the fish you want. They have to be a certain size. Well, that's kind of true, yeah. I see what your point is. To preserve the population, thus preserving the species. Killing humans does not preserve the species. It defeats the purpose. So you just proved your own point to be wrong. Very well spoken, Aaron. Very nice. I couldn't have said that better myself. Generic says, I value my sister's right to an abortion more than the fetuses that doesn't think. Again, how do you know it doesn't think? You haven't answered any of my questions, by the way. Are you scared to? Or do you just genuinely not know? How do you know that fetus, which is the offspring of your sister, how do you know it doesn't think? When's the last time you ever saw a video with a doctor scanning the fetus to see if it's thinking or not? How would you even go about making that test? Do you know any answers to any of these questions? Because I don't think you do. And your sister should have thought about that fetus before she allowed it to get put in her. How about that? Maybe you should value that more than the decisions you have to make as a result of it. It says also, let's get to some politics. This is political. Abortion is a very hot button topic of most political leanings. Amanda says, I can't with this moron. Well, you have to. That's what we're here for. Debbie says, my first belief was pro-choice because I watched If These Walls Could Talk about abortions done back in back alleys with dirty knives. And I didn't want women dying needlessly. And then I learned about what abortion really is. And now I'm pro-life. And abortion is murder. Well, see, that dirty knives in the back alley thing has happened, but as a big F-you to the world, they took that idea and made it political. They politicized it, and then they made it a trope. So now you have videos about it like it happens every day. It doesn't happen every day. There's not people every day sticking coat hangers in themselves and things like that. It has happened, but those people are crazy. And still doing the thing you just mentioned. Yes, it is wrong. Aaron says, I'm taking the high road, Amanda. The high road is to answer the questions and to discuss it and hopefully change a mind or two. There's a lot of people listening. Even if we can't change this person's mind, we might can point out the logic that will change 100 other people's minds. Debbie says, in the 70s, they tried to sell abortion as health choice, as health care, yeah. Like today, they made the baby a non-entity to make the bitter reality better to swallow. Yes, it's easy to kill a thing when you dehumanize it, when you take away its agency, when you make it a thing, a clump of cells, a fetus. That's what happens when you refuse to say baby instead of fetus, because that doesn't sound like a human being. A baby sounds like somebody you play with. That's why. Words matter. Kevin says, generic, my life changed when I brought a child into this world. It changed because I became responsible for another's life. As will you when you have a child. Nothing will hit you in the face with reality faster or harder than having a newborn baby in your arms. And it's your job to make sure it lives. And Kevin says, generic, can I ask if you have any children? Aaron says, so what's the update on politics? The update is nothing's happening except this conversation. Debbie says, my dad's advice, remember every time he shoots, he has the potential to score. So I never played the game until I was married. And that is the responsible thing to do. Virginity is a virtue, and it used to be very valuable. That's why men would give a dowry when marrying or betrothing themselves to a woman to pay for that virtue. It's because that is the only thing uniquely yours that you only have once, and then it's gone forever. And if more people valued it and more people protected it less of this stuff would happen. We should go back to chastity. And Debbie says, Aaron, I think the update is Trump is king, ha ha ha. And Generic says, Kev, I don't have children. I probably won't. Well, never say never. You might. Aaron says, God is king, Trump's a man. Right. Amen to that. Amber says, Debbie, smiley, smiley. Debbie says, Aaron, you asked for an update. You never said it had to be based on truth. Aaron says, touche. Amber says, is the generic name person male or female or AI? It's male. I know he's male because he thinks like a male. Generic says male, hopefully not AI. Not sure how to test. Oh, I know how to test. I've already tested that. That's why you're still talking. Amber says, how old are you? Dodie says, Amber, good question. Generic says, Amber, I'm 20. Jesus, I'm getting old. I'm 20 a couple of times. And then some. Amber says, you're a male from Germany having a conversation with an American. Must be incredible for you. Aaron says, what year is that to be born? He's not AI. This is a real person. And Judy says, amen, Debbie. Amber says, 20-year-old male from Germany. Is abortion legal there? Probably not. Amanda says, generic, if you got a woman pregnant and she got an abortion and didn't let you know and you found out, would you be mad about killing your child? That's a good question for you. And Generic says, Amber, yes and no. Abortion is not criminalized in Germany, so it's basically legal. It's like everywhere else. They want to present like it's illegal, but they allow it to happen. Judy says, amen, Aaron. And Generic says, Amanda, I don't think I would be mad, but that's just because I don't plan on having children. Well, believe me when I tell you this, Generic. There's no other way to prepare you for it, and there's no way to make you understand it unless it happens to you. But I assure you, when you put a baby in a woman, even if it's by accident, like you didn't mean for it to happen, condom broke, whatever it is, the moment a piece of you starts growing in another human being, an instinct will turn on in the back of your head that you didn't even know was there. And you'll start thinking all kinds of things that you didn't know you would ever think or feel or experience. Fear, anger, protectiveness, the need to get out and get a job, that sort of thing starts creeping up in your body. It's not something you can control. It just happens. It's part of DNA. It is your body as well getting prepared to have a child. Just like the woman is getting prepared to give the child, you're getting prepared to feed it. And that's the way nature works. So I assure you, if you get a woman pregnant and you know about it, you're going to change. I promise you, you will. You're just 20 years old. You don't even have that in your brain right now. When I was 20, I was a freaking moron, just like you. It's okay. That's part of growing up. But I assure you, at that point, you will turn into a different human being. Amber says, at 20 years old, are you sexually active? I would imagine so. At least once. And Amanda says, but if you did want children, would you be mad? Muggy Jew says, Aaron, that was the stupidest comment I've heard tonight. Regulating childbirth, this ain't China. That's not what he said. He didn't say anything about regulating childbirth. He said regulating abortion. And that's not a stupid idea. To preserve the species is a wonderful idea. I think more thought ought to be put into that kind of idea. Not that exact thing, but the idea. Aaron says in Germany, abortion is illegal after 12 weeks. Aaron says, Monkey, do you need a timeout? No. Let's not be timing people out for having different opinions. But, Monkey Juice, don't be calling people stupid. That's my job. Generic says, Aaron, yes. Amanda says, Monkey Juice, hamburger upper hand. Amber says, smiley, smiley, smiley. Monkey Juice says, only worry about your body. Monkey Juice, don't walk into a conversation and start dictating how it goes. I was asked a question and I'm going to answer it. Thank you very much. I am only worried about my body, but when you ask me a question on a live stream where I do the talking with a microphone, I'm going to answer the question. Do you mind? And Amber says, banana. Aaron says, I think you forgot your monkey juice today. You might need a bottle. Generic says, Amanda, I think I'd be annoyed, not mad enough to end the relationship. Well, I guess, again, it depends on where you take the validity of life. If you value that life, you would be upset. I would be. I would be furious. Amber says, I was asking for you earlier, banana. Is that your name for monkey juice now? Monkey juice. I just told you earlier not to be calling people names. That's my job. I don't like people doing my job. If you do that again, I'm going to make you sit down. Aaron says, like I told you before, I got the power to sit you down. You got the power to run your mouth. What do you want to do here, cuz? I can kick you out of here. Well, let's not do that. Get a clue, redneck. Now, are you talking to me? Because I'm the only redneck here. All right. That's it. I told you 3 times we're not going to be doing that anymore. As soon as I can find it, I'm going to stop it. I know. Amber says, this evening has been interesting. Going in circles with a 20-year-old male about how many strokes is one too many. Aaron says, no need to say that anymore. I fixed it. Kevin says, generic, if you get knocked out, do you have consciousness or are you unconscious? Good question. Patty says, when you realize that you may have just handed over a harvesting organ to grow shit, it's getting stupid. Right. Amber says, I raised my son randomly saying, son, when he stands, think about 20 to life. Yeah. Aaron says, Monkey, I could care less about the mask thing. That's your opinion. Don't push that crap. Have a conversation like a grown-up or leave. Well, let's not be doing all the leaving stuff. I'm getting tired of saying it now. We don't kick people out for having a difference of opinions. We kick people out for being rude assholes. And that is what you dangerously got close to there, is why I timed you out, Monkey Juice. And when you come back, if you come back, behave yourself or I will time you out permanently. It's the last time I'm going to say it. Kevin says, generic, I'd like to take this time to say thank you for a civil conversation. Yes, thank you for that. It's a wonderful thing to talk to people you disagree with and still be able to have a fruitful conversation. I don't expect to change his mind. I know he's not going to change mine. But everybody listening is affected by this conversation. And it being civil is why they're listening. They stop listening when it evolves into retardation. So let's all, everybody, learn how not to escalate into retardation. Let's learn how to pull back and say, hey, we're having a conversation. Let's be civil. It's not going to go your way. People are going to say things you disagree with. People are going to say things that you're avidly against. Let them say it. They have the right to say it. This is America. Now that I've said that, use this thing up here to change somebody's mind about what they think, about how reprehensible it is, about the meaning of life, the truth that we talk about Sunday and Monday every week. Bring it up. Point it out. This is the truth. That propaganda that you grew up thinking is wrong. Governments can be wrong. Ask Hitler. But thank you both for a civil conversation, asking questions and answering them civilly. The only thing I would like is more of the questions to be answered. I asked about 5 questions that did not get answered. I need answers. That's how conversation works. You can say things, but then you have to back it up. If you can't back it up, you shouldn't be having a conversation. Amber says, that part, Patty, so creepy. Yeah, they're selling the abortion they're selling the abortion idea just a little too much for me, says Patty. Yes, and they actually do that with the discarded tissue. They sell it, parts or whole. There's a whole big market for it. There's actually a makeup market for the stem cells because it makes rich people's faces look younger. Believe me, there's a lot of creepy shit behind the facade of Planned Parenthood. And I don't know why more people don't know about it, because it's all over the place. And once they start selling an idea on you, like when they sold the mask idea and the 6-foot separation and the plastic in the convenience stores and the little footprints on the ground, which was none of that had any scientific backing whatsoever. Somebody made that shit up and then forced you to do it. When they start selling you an idea like that, pushing it on you, trying to sell you, it's because there's another agenda at play, and this is the means by which they get that agenda fulfilled. And red flags should go up every time you see that. I agree with you. Generic says, Kev, I would still have a functioning brain that still had consciousness or subconscious thoughts. So yes, I think. No, when you're unconscious, that is exactly what it means. Not conscious. Your brain ceases to function at that point. It is on reboot. You are not having subconscious thought while unconscious. So no, you are unconscious. Slap the living out of your brain there. And that goes to his point, Kevin's point, that just because your consciousness is not there does not make you alive or not. Amber says people pay for the abortion and then they pay for the body parts. And then they pay for the products that the body parts make or the medications. There is a disturbing amount of those kind of cells in vaccines, for example. Wonder where they come from. Hey, everybody, hit that like button, subscribe, share, support, and join if you can. Feed Jake. I'd appreciate that very much. I do come to you by viewers just like you. If you don't support, I can't keep doing this. So take a moment to think about that and drop a super chat or hit CashApp $ jakejohnsonband or paypal.me/jakejohnsonband if you can. Normally I would show a commercial, but I'm getting copyright claimed to bejesus because of my commercial that's been operating for a decade, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. So I just have to tell you. So that's why I'm bringing it up. But thank you, and support what you love or it vanishes. Generic says, Kevin, thank you too. I like this conversation so far. Excellent. Your body, your choice. Let that sink in a little, like the vaccine. My body, my choice. Oh, no. Like the mask. Like the passport or I lose my job. Not rules for thee, but not for me. That's Democrat thinking. We think about truth here. Amber says, so nasty and dirty, but a shit ton of money. Oh, yeah. Kevin says, generic, but if that functioning brain is not conscious, it's unconscious. Correct. It's still alive. Judy says, Monkey, it is not your boy. Totally different person. Generic says, Kev, it's like a computer running on standby. There is still stuff going on in the brain while unconscious. Yeah, but not consciousness. It's doing the functionality of the body, the blood flow and the heartbeat and all of that, breathing, but it's not thinking. The conscious part of the brain has shut off. That's what unconscious means. That's what anesthesia does, shuts off the conscious part of your brain. You're still very much alive and awake, but the functioning part of your consciousness doesn't work, so you have no cognitive awareness of it. You're in effect dead. Body, not boy. Sorry. Not your body. Totally different person. Correct. It's a different human being. DNA is different in the baby than in the mother. It's a different set of DNA. That's a completely different human being. It is only attached by an umbilical cord, which will eventually break of its own accord. The sac that it is contained in comes out. That sac is not attached to the mother. It's formed in the mother, but then it comes out. And it's a completely different thing. So no, it is not your body, your choice. That's a lie, much like I was born that way. Also a lie. It is someone else's body that you're in charge of carrying for 9 months. And then if you're lucky enough to be chosen, you get the next 18 years to guardian over it. Kevin says, hello, Judy. Debbie says, if it's my body, my choice, then someone has to advocate for the unborn and their body and their choice. They are unique people unto themselves. Right. What about their body and their choice? Don't they have the choice to live and grow up and meet their potential? Or do they not have that right because they're inside of another person? It's like a Russian doll. Is the smaller doll any less a doll? Just because it's inside of a bigger doll, it can come out. And then it's a doll of its own accord, of its own size, and its own makeup. And Judy says, hey, Kevin. And amen, Debbie. And Patty says, and from that moment on, you will be as happy as your least happiest child. Right on. I am with you. No, that's wrong too. In the case of rape, it is the rapist's choice. The other party is unwitting. And the result of that rape is a child that had nothing to do with that first act. That is a completely different human being that was not even there when it occurred. It is a result of it, yes. Yes, that child is a constant reminder that that thing happened, but that's all it is. There is no other connection. It's a completely unique human being that was not there when the rape occurred, so you can't blame that child for what that rapist did. You can kill the rapist, and he should be, but love the child because that child is innocent. Innocent of all of the charges. And because it makes you think of something, really? That's the reason you want to kill it? I think that's a weak reason. In the case of incest, you don't have to worry the child's going to be retarded anyway. But also, not the child's fault. And what was the other one? Indifferent. Indifferent people just want to party and do whatever they want to do and not face the consequences. They ought to not only have to carry the child, but they ought to tote a ass whooping right before they have to worry about being pregnant for being stupid. Does that cover all the bases there, Monkey Juice? Stop talking while you're ahead. Generic says, Debbie, well, that's where we disagree. I don't think a fetus is a unique person till it has a brain grown enough to think. Well, you're wrong. What makes a person? The end result of that conversation would be a unique DNA, right? I'll save you the trouble of the argument because it's been had. I'm not the only person who's ever talked about this, neither are you. What makes a person unique is DNA. That's the only thing that makes you unique because you're 50% made up of the stuff of your father and of your mother. So you're an amalgamation of other people. But what makes you a unique person is your DNA, which has its own signature. Not the brain, not the heart, not the flesh, the DNA. When does that occur? At conception. The moment the spark, which is an actual spark that produces light, they've proven that in the laboratory too. When that spark occurs, when the sperm and the egg meet, a brand new DNA strand is created at that moment, at conception. That is a unique human being at that point. And from that point forward, that unique human being is going to grow and develop into a person who has unlimited potential in front of them. That's all you need to worry about. What they think, what they feel, what they experience is irrelevant to the conversation. Hope that's enough. And yes, it's all right that you disagree, but maybe you'll learn. Debbie says, Monkey, no matter what, the child is not here because of something they did. So why do they have to pay the ultimate price? Right. And Judy says, LOL, generic. Hang on, my chat jumped. It seems to do that a lot, doesn't it? LOL, generic, you sound like my brother. He said kids aren't people till there's something awesome. Yeah. Amber says, yay me. My sugar is 159 right now. Yay you. I'm hungry. Kevin says, generic, you've done very well in this conversation. There's one thing you seem to be failing to understand. All of the people you're talking with are far older and more experienced than you. Yes, and we know more than you because we've been here longer, not because of any higher functionality, although there's those people here too. But only because of the length of time having lived and experienced things that you haven't experienced yet. And that's all well and good. Just allow yourself a little space to grow. Don't be so certain about everything because you are 20 and you are a moron. I was when I was 20 and so was everyone else. That your brain doesn't even fully develop until the age 25. That's when it's done developing. 25. Right? So you got 5 more years of developing. You're just now coming into your own consciousness. So allow yourself a little space and don't fret the small stuff so bad. You're doing good. Judy says, good job, Amber. And Generic says, Judy, tell your brother he's on to something, but not even I would go that far. And Judy says, Generic, some of us are older than dirt. Some of us feel like it. Judy says, my brother is a strange bird, Generic. And Generic says, Kev, true, I'm probably in the younger percentile here. You are, but that's okay. Young people need to learn too. I offer my services as mentor. Kevin says, Generic, you display the ability to state your opinions and listen to others. That's a high compliment coming from Kevin. Generic, that's a very good quality. Amen. And Generic says, Kev, you too, brother. I always like hearing different world views, and thank you for sharing yours. Amen. Aaron says, I agree, Generic has maturity. Generic says, Aaron, glad it seems that way. I'm enjoying my time here. Amen. Well, I hope you come back. We do this 5 nights a week, so come back. Sunday and Monday, we'll be studying the Bible and reading what's in it. So you might be interested in hearing that from a different perspective that you've never heard before. I assure you I'll say things you've never heard. Aaron says, and we were able to talk opinion without jumping into a conversation and calling people names. And that's what we're trying to do here. Is have a debate instead of insults, and that's what Jake's point was. Amen. That was the only reason I said what I said. If I didn't write it correctly, then I apologize, but it was only the name calling that I was trying to wrangle up so I wouldn't get out of hand. I agree. I understand. And Monkey Juice is back. He says, really, Jake? Makeup created from abortion fetus? What? Did you write something wrong there? Yes, makeup is created from cells from aborted fetuses. Some of it. Some skin creams and things like that. And also, vaccines have a large portion, and so does this. There's something of that in there, too. There's a lot of things you don't know about this world, Richard. And I suggest you go doing some studying before you go, oh, really? And roll your eyes at me like I'm saying something that's Greek. Which, by the way, I speak. Do you? Adrenochrome. Right, Patty. Adrenochrome is a drug that's made partially of aborted fetuses and of children that were not aborted but were alive. Kevin says, I know makeup is partially made with afterbirth. Yes, there's some of that in there too. Monkey Juice says, wow, Kevin, okay, I guess. It's true. Look it up. And Google it. Right, Kevin. Amanda says, it absolutely is, Monkey. Yeah, contrary to your belief, I don't say things that aren't true. I might be wrong, but I'm not lying to you. I believe every word I speak. And most of the time, I'm right. So it would serve you right to have a little computer sitting there, and every time I said something that you found outlandish, to just go look it up, do a little Google search. You'll find out that there's teeth behind every word I say. I'm not just making shit up here. I'm actually as smart as I pretend to be. Aaron says that's where the term babyface comes from. How about that? Babyface. You got the cutest little baby face. Kind of makes you hate that song now, doesn't it? Amanda says PSP is derived from cultured skin fibroblasts, proteins, and growth factors, originally from a single electively aborted 14-week-old male fetus. In Switzerland in the 1990s, the tissue was donated for medical research, initially for wound healing, burns, and such. And a cell bank was created. No ongoing abortions supply it. The cells are propagated in a laboratory from the one source. Well, there's just one thing. There is a skin cream that people like, what's the girl that was in Speed? Sandra Bullock. She was on Ellen's show talking about it. It is made from a aborted fetus's foreskin. The cells that they get from it go into their face to make them look younger. So, yeah, there's that. I didn't know there was an afterbirth market. Monkey juice. The whole thing that I've been trying to get you to understand for a year now, probably 2 years, is that there's a whole world of things that you do not know. That's why I'm here, to enlighten you on the things you don't know, because I know some of them. The Venn diagram of things you do know versus the things you don't know, and the little sliver in the middle is where you end and I begin. That's why you keep coming back. You just ain't figured it out yet. Amber says, yes, banana. They sell the stem cells to make up companies. It's creepy as F. Among other things. Kevin says, monkey juice. I've known that for 40 years. Amber says, when I found out, I stopped wearing makeup. Like, just no. Yeah, there's a lot of things in this world that are not very comfortable. Look up what your boy was doing to beagles. Anthony Fauci. Look up what he was doing to beagles. You like puppies, don't you? That was happening in the year of our Lord 2024. Just look it up. Amanda says you can save your cord blood for stem cells too. Yeah, the umbilical cord, that's the highest source of stem cells you can get is in an umbilical cord. And they do everything. They're like a switch that makes anything. So brain cells or heart cells or kidney cells or whatever you need it, that cell will do it. So it's very interesting. Scary, but interesting. Kevin says $0 years. Oh, 40 years. Ha. I got you. I said it right. 40 years. Hospitals sell afterbirth to cosmetic companies, ? Says Richard Duggins. I did not say that. Did you hear me say that? Aaron says collagen is a mixture of baby animals and fetuses, too. Some of it, yeah. Well, collagen is what makes the fat in your cheeks stick out. Collagen is just a fat cell. But they extract it from a bunch of things, including fetuses, to put it into things that renew your collagen. So like the injections that rich people get in their faces to make them look young, it's full of fetus cells and other things. Vaccines have fetus cells in them stem cells. Sports players get stem cells from fetuses injected into their knees and things like that. It's a big business. But I didn't say hospitals did the selling, now did I? What I don't say is as important as what I do say. Amber says, Miss Hammer, both of my children's cords was kept, and I was in my 20s and clueless. As are most people who are in their 20s. It's a very hard thing to have a lot of brain power at that age. It takes a lot of heart breaking and a lot of suffering and a lot of loss and a lot of fighting and a lot of gain to gain that kind of brain power. Would you want a third major political party in the USA? Just a general question. Generic. No, I don't want the two we have. I certainly don't want a third bunch of nonsense. Sorry, I've got a bit of pleurisy and it's acting up. It's a byproduct of pneumonia. It's fluid in my pleurals. And it hurts, like being stabbed with a spike. Amanda says, yes, monkey, and aborted baby pieces. Yeah, they sell those too for other things. Matter of fact, one of Planned Parenthood's offices was shut down because they got caught selling full fetuses on the black market for various reasons. That was on the news and then got shut down quickly. So you'll have to do some looking, but you can find that on YouTube. I think, I might be wrong, but I think it was Project Veritas that found out about it. So you got to start looking there. Project Veritas, which means the truth be told. In Greek. Amanda says, I just posted it above, monkey. Well, you posted one instance, yeah. Kevin says, monkey juice hospitals collect the afterbirth and sell it to companies that sell it to cosmetic companies. Yeah, there are organizations that collect those things. They go around and collect them, and then what they do with them from there is usually parse them out to other companies who do things with them. But the company itself is doing just a typical service, just removing waste. And what they do with it, I have no idea what those people are doing. I just did my job. It's compartmentalized. But yeah, it happens. A lot. Amber says, Too Faced and MAC were the brands of makeup I used. Just no. A lot to be said with the names there. Amber says, yes, green team, nasty. Amber says, abortion is crazy. The farther along the mother, the more expensive the abortion. The farther along the mother. And then when they sell the babies as parts, so terrifying and sad. You ought to look at pictures that they've been able to take of abortions happening when the babies are alive and then are not, and see what happens inside there. That's gruesome. Aaron says they're doing something new with abortions. Is that why we got on the subject? I'm asking genuinely, not trying to be a smartass. I don't know. No, I was asked what my stance was on abortion, and it led into this conversation. I led with abortion is murder, because it is. It is taking a human life. And then we got into discussing what a human life means. And then we're here. That's how conversations work. But tonight, as always, I offer a topic and then go wherever the conversation takes me. And that's where it took me tonight. Last time it was about God. Amber says, no green team. Hold on, my chat jumped. No, Green Team, the 20-year-old male from Germany tried to say a baby isn't a baby until birth, and here we are. Well, it was a little more complicated than that, but yeah, essentially. Amber says, go America, save our children. Patty says, you will be preventing a soul to live in the flesh body in this second world age. I was a moron also at 20, right? Yeah, if you don't allow the soul to live, it's got to go somewhere else. I tend to stick with God's plan, whatever he decides I'm with. Aaron says, I'm learning a lot. That's the idea, buddy. Generic says, I need to sleep now. It's 4 a.m. over here. Good night. Good night, Generic. Thank you for being here. I hope you come back. Come see us. And hit that subscribe button if you hadn't done so already. I can see you. I enjoyed the conversation, though. Thank you for being here. Judy says, good night, Generic. Kevin says, good night, Generic. Aaron says, think about subbing and come back, Generic. Don't think about it. Just do it. Just hit the subscribe button. Amber says, okay, y'all, no political night. I'm going to take my seizure meds and insulin to keep my numbers up. And Judy says, good night, Amber. Amber says, princess waves and air. Y'all feel better soon. Well, thank you. And glitter, says Aaron. Don't forget glitter. What it is? What's up, buddy? He says, after birth, what now? Wow. I think it's over what it is. You just got the tail end of it. Amanda says, what it is, hamburger helper hand. What it is says, hello, Jake and Amanda, to everybody here in Untethered Live. Nice to see you. Judy says, hey, what it is? Kevin says, say what you will, but I liked Generic. I did too. I didn't agree with his opinions, but he is very likable. I agree, and I think he'll come back. I hope he will. He's welcome here anytime. That conversation is exactly what I'm going for. That's what tonight exists. I want more of that. So anytime you guys that are mods or people that are joining us, help me get that happening. That's what we need, more of that. I guarantee you some things were said tonight that he will think about for a long time. And also, I guarantee you that everybody here heard something that they didn't know yesterday. I like that. Those are good odds. Aaron says, facts. What it is, have you seen some of the stuff they grow in Petri dishes? Yes. Like noses and skin. I seen that about 15 years ago, and they're doing it over in England, so there's no telling what body parts they are growing. Yes, I have seen that. And you're talking about the substrate materials that they grow body parts on using stem cells. Excuse me. And yes, it is dark, and that's what you can see in public. The vast majority of things that they're doing, nobody ever gets to see. We were just talking to somebody in Germany, but the Germans in particular did some pretty gruesome studies in the 40s with apes and women. And let me just tell you that they went all out. They did everything you can imagine trying to make super soldiers out of apes and women. And they did it all. Oh. What it is, yep, there is a dark side to this world. Once you get a peek at it, the decisions, are you going to make not peek no more or go all in? Yeah, most of the time it would behoove you to not peek anymore. Ignorance is bliss. You can live a happy, comfortable life not knowing anything. Once you start knowing stuff, though, you're going down a rabbit hole you can't get out of. That's why God said, avoid vain imaginations in the Bible. That's a very poignant statement. because that imagination will lead you down a primrose lane that you can't recover from. Knowledge can kill you. Believe that. Aaron says, in Chicago, in the Museum of Science and Industry, they have a whole abortion floor. I don't know if they took it out, but it showed all the stages of the babies, and they had them in jars. And it shows each stage of when they actually grow and get birthed. And it showed all the abortion stages. I wish I'd never went there and saw it. It scarred me for life. Yes. Yes. Yes, a lot of what they do is very scarring. And Amanda says, and you have to go all in what it is. Sometimes. Judy says, I remember that, Aaron. Has been there since I was a kid. Aaron says, I'm glad you remember, Judy. Do you remember the submarine that used to go underneath and go into the Chicago River and take you underneath the museum? It was shaped like a fish. Wow. Judy says, I remember a submarine, but I don't remember it going anywhere. Ninja Rider, long time no see. How you doing, buddy? Ninja Rider says, oh my God. Hey, I'm back, y'all. What are y'all doing? I'm a goodness. I'm a goodness? What you up to, buddy? Nice to see you. How are things? Amanda says, long time no see. How you been, Ninja? Hamburger brand. Aaron says, Botox. Yep. Aaron says, Judy, the submarine was a ride, and it used to go underneath the bridge into Chicago River, and it would come up on the other side of the museum. Nice. And Aaron says, are you still sick, Amanda? That's why she's not talking. She decided not to throw up all over you guys. And Amanda says, yes, unfortunately, Aaron, it sucks, but I hope I'm coming to the end of it now. Me too. I'm getting better too. Judy says, I haven't been to Chicago in 36 years. Wow, over 36 years. And so sorry to hear that, Amanda. Yeah, we've had some kind of serious lung infection over here, and it's contagious because we both have it. And I got a little pneumonia and a little pleurisy from it. I think it's pleurisy. I might have pulled a muscle, but it's hard to tell. Either way, it hurts. It comes and goes. That's why I think it's pleurisy. Amanda says, thanks, Judy. Aaron says, I hope so, Amanda and Jake, that you are well. Appreciate that. Monkey Jew says, is the Petri dish work in England the work of God? No. The things that they're using are the work of God, but no. That is the thing God tried to stop people from doing. You know, Tower of Babel, vain imaginations, astrology, that sort of thing. Incantations and spells and divinations, libations and divinations. Yeah, God don't want you doing that stuff. You're not supposed to play with those things. That's God's purview, not yours. Amanda says, thanks, Aaron. And Judy says, you're welcome. And Amanda says, absolutely not, monkey. It's all man. Generic name says, hello, I'm back. Sun is up anyways. I can't afford to sleep now. I need to pick up some stuff in a few hours. I told you he'd be back. Well, I'm glad you're back, Generic. We were just thinking about you, and it's almost time for me to leave. And Debbie says, Amanda is being antisocial. She's being anti-sick. She doesn't want to spread the germs. You don't want a computer virus, do you? Amanda says, LOL, never, Debbie. And Generic says, I'm interested in talking about religion if someone is down for that. Well, that'll be tomorrow night and Monday night. Come to us then, and we will talk about it. 8:30 right here, same place. Hit that subscribe button, and you'll get a notification when I go live. Unfortunately, at the bottom of the chat, it's time for me to go to bed. But you will love Bible study. It's not churchy at all. It's not what people think when they think Bible study. It's actual academic look into what God is saying, what the Bible is saying. And I think you'll love it. Aaron says you'll love Bible study tomorrow night, Generic. And Aaron says it's fantastic. Thank you. And Judy says, bye, y'all. And Amanda says, Niners all, see you tomorrow night at 8 p.m. right here on Untethered Live for a Bible study. Much love, y'all. Generic says, okay, 8:30. I will need to see what time it is here. I'll try to catch it. Well, it's 10:30 right now. What time is it where you're at right now? Kevin says, good night, everyone. Kevin, God bless, my friend. Okay, it's 4:30. So, back 3 hours. It'd be 1:30 where you're at. Patty says, TKO for me. Thank you both. Good night, all. Patty, God bless you and thank you. And Debbie says, good night, all y'all. Smell you later. I love you. No, it's 4:30 right now where he's at. It's 10:30 right here. But I started at 8:30. So 9:30, 8:30. So 4:30, 3:30, 2:30. You see what I'm saying? Generic says, till then, I'll try to find my own Bible. I have one in English. Well, I'll have one on the screen. You don't even need one. But you can bring yours if you like. But the words will be on the screen, and we'll go through it verse by verse, chapter by chapter, line by line, and explain everything. In detail, I'll bring it to life so that you'll see what it actually says. And then you can make up your own mind whether you believe it or not. I'll encourage that too, though. Yes, I know there's 6 hours difference, but we're talking about when the show starts, where he's at. So if it's 4:30 there right now, it'll be 2:30 when the show starts. 2 o'clock when the show starts tomorrow night. 2:30 every other night. See if I manage to catch it. Well, hit that subscribe button, and you will catch it because it'll tell you I'm online. It's free. Just hit that button, subscribe. All right. Thank you all so much for a fantastic conversation. I love each and every one of you. This is what we need, more of this. Have a great night. God bless each and every one of you. I will see you tomorrow night. Until then, thank you for watching.